News starts now.
First at 10, a former Kanakuk Kamps counselor already convicted of sexually abusing young boys hit with another lawsuit. Peter Newman is being accused of sexual assault, this time involving a minor female. Frances Watson joins us in our newsroom with details this evening. Frances.
Yeah, Paul, Peter Newman is already spending 2 life sentences behind bars and is having to pay more than $30 million in civil judgments. Now, another accuser coming forward with more allegations of sexual abuse.
Cook has never been held fully accountable for its role in retaining Pete Newman as an employee, even after numerous warning signs pointed to the inescapable conclusion that he was a predator abusing children.
Craig Heidman represents clients who have sued Kanakuk Kamps in Taney County for alleged sexual abuse at the hands of former camp counselor Peter Newman. Newman was sentenced to 2 life sentences 15 years ago after pleading guilty to sex crimes involving young boys, including statutory sodomy and enticement of a child. The latest suit, filed Tuesday by a Jane Doe, is the first female to allege sexual abuse by Newman and challenges the current statutes of limitation on sexual abuse claims.
Unfortunately, the Missouri legislature has so far declined to retroactively extend the statute of limitations for victims of Kanakuk-related abuse, but the short filing deadlines have too often operated solely to shield Kanakuk from responsibility.
According to this new petition, Newman is accused of abusing the girl when she was 9. It says the victim's memory of the acts were repressed until late last year. State law allows time limits of childhood sexual abuse claims to pause, where memory of the abuse was repressed.
The lawyers that are representing her are carrying the torch for victims that are otherwise barred by the statute of limitation, but through their efforts, hopefully more Kanakuk abuse survivors will get justice.
We reached out to Kanakuk Kamps for a comment. They referred us to a statement on their website that states Kanakuk continues to work tirelessly to ensure abusive behavior does not happen again. You'll find the entire statement in this story on our website and free news app. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Frances Watson. Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Frances. Police in Texas have identified a